Hello, I am David W. Parker. This is Programming Today I Learned. This is another introductory episode, learning HTML and the basics of learning to code from scratch for the web. Let's go ahead and dive into our example here. So we have our H tags now. We have this giant paragraph here. And we have this little subheader and our footer. Our header now has some links that when you click it, scrolls down to that part that we want it to, and it changes the URL here, and you can't see it very well, and I can't zoom in on that, but it says the index.html and then hash h3, which is where this one lives. This one says h2, and this one is the h1 that's up here, and you can see this is another h2. So we can go ahead and dive into all of this. You didn't catch that? I'm David W. Parker, and I'm creating content like this. If you like it, subscribe. That would be fantastic. Support me via Patreon and via Buy Me a Coffee, and let's dig in. Okay. So, first thing is, what is this weird text here? Lorem Ipsum, dolor sit, amit, etc. So, Lorem Ipsum is simply dummy text of the printing and typesetting industry. And it's been around since the 1500s. And basically includes a lot of different characters, and it's been used on the web since the web came to be. So it's long established to help for creating content. So if we don't have content yet, but we know we're going to eventually fill this in, Lorem Ipsum is a great way for us to provide dummy data to fill the content, so we know what it's going to look like, even if we don't have that content yet. So you can just type in Lorem Ipsum, Lorem Ipsum to the internet, and you can find tons of different sites that will provide Lorem Ipsum data for you. So let's look at our document here, and we'll see what's changed. First thing is our header has changed. So we added this new nav tag. Let's look at the nav tag. The nav element represents a section of a page whose purpose is to provide navigational links, either within the document or to other documents. Common examples are menus, tables of contents, and indices. So in this episode, we're looking at linking to something within the current document. So if I click link to another H2, it jumps down to this part where it says another H2. If I click the H1, it's going to go down to this H1. And links are basically what created the internet. It's what linking from my page to your page is. Having a link farm, etc. Google is just a bunch of links. You know, you type in something in Google and you're finding content within that page and you're trying to get there. So links are probably one of the most, if not the most important tag you will be learning about within the internet. And so we will go ahead and in this episode, just look at how easy it is to link within a document, and we'll link to other documents in a future episode. But the nav bar up here is basically, like I said, it's just a few different link tags. So now that we have the nav out of the way, we can look at the A tag, which is an anchor. The A element, or anchor element, with its href, creates a hyperlink to web pages, files, email addresses, locations in the same page, or anything else a URL, uniform resource location, can address. Content within each A should include a link's destination. If the href attribute is present, pressing the enter will focus the A element to activate it. So that's something I didn't demonstrate. If I tab through each of these and I click enter, you can see it's going to go to that element. Back to our A tag here. So you can have it prompt to download. It has the href attribute. These are all the different attributes you can put on it. We're just going to look at the href right now. So you could see on this application here, I have 3 A tags. The first one, open bracket A, and it has href equals and then hash or pound h1. And then it has within it, we close it and we write what we want to have the A tag be. So you can see here, it is this little link to h1. And then link to another H2 and sub H3. And each of these says H1, H2, H3. And we can name this whatever we want. I'll call this whatever. So down here in our H1 tag, we have this new attribute called ID. And IDs need to be unique within the current page. So there's not multiple IDs of whatever. But if I save that, and then I reload our file here, and I click, you can see it's blue again, meaning it hasn't visited this. But if I click it, it still goes to H1. Now, had I kept the name of this as H1, and then I go back to our site here, and I click this, it tries to go to whatever. Whatever doesn't exist, so it doesn't go there. So you need to have, if it's pound, that's going to try to find the ID element within the page and navigate down to it. So you need to have the name of this be what the ID of whatever you want it to be go to. So if you look within our document here, you see pound H2 and pound H3. It's not this H2 because this H2 does not have an attribute ID with the name of H2. But this one does, versus another. And then finally, we have another one down here, ID of H3. You'll note that when I'm here and I click it, it tries to scroll down as far as it can to this H3. Because the H3 there's nowhere more to scroll, it's not going to show a bunch of empty space below. So this is as far as it can scroll. So that is something to be aware of when you're within the page. And what are these other tags here? We have this P tag. That's the only one we haven't covered this episode. And so open bracket P and bracket P, and it basically represents a paragraph. So the P element, the paragraph element, are usually represented in visual media as blocks of text separated from adjacent blocks by blank lines and or first line indentation. And we can structure them to look any way we want, or group them with related content such as images or form fields. So within our Lorem document here, we have a P tag and then a Lorem Ipsum content. And then the same thing, I just copied and pasted this multiple times so you could see how it's just displayed with a P tag, then the next P tag, the next P tag, etc. The other one I didn't mention was the section. We have a section here, and it begins and it wraps around. It's after all these H2, another H2, we have a section, and within the section we have all these different P tags. So it represents a generic standalone section of a document which doesn't have a more semantic meaning. So they should always have a heading with very few exceptions. So our heading in this instance is this H2 where it says another H2. So a section is sort of like a div, but it has a little bit more meaning this content is really part of this section and that we have a header attached to it, versus a div has no real logical meaning. So anyway, that's it for this episode. I hope you guys like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you have any questions below. And I hope you continue on this educational journey with me. Talk to you guys later. Bye.